Okay, guys. Next problem, and I moved the mouse out of the way for you. Sorry about that last one. Okay, so we're going to find the rule, the slope, and the y-intercept of a line that passes through these 2 points, -2, -1, and 0, -6. So this is one of the more complicated things we do, but it's okay because we know a bunch of the steps. Okay, so I know that my slope formula is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. If I go over here and let's label these two things, okay? So that -2 is gonna be x1, and then we're gonna have y1, and then we have x2, and then we have y2. All right, so they're labeled. All I have to do now is just plug them in, okay? So y2 is gonna be -6, and then y1 is gonna be -1. Notice that I did a minus symbol even though there's also another minus symbol in front of the 1 because it's a -1. I have to put all my negatives in. Now, x2 is going to be 0, and x1 is going to be -2, so minus -2. All right, now remember like we said before, whenever I see this minus minus, I can change them both into pluses, and then I'm going to work this out. So -6 plus 1 is going to give me -5. Don't be afraid to plug that into your calculator. It's better to get it right by plugging it into your calculator. And 0 plus 2 is just 2. So I've got -5 over 2. Great. There's the first part of my answer. My slope is -5 over 2. Cool. Okay, well now what I have, I've got slope, and hey, I've also got a point. What a great time to go ahead and use point-slope form if I've got a point and I've got the slope. Now, let's go ahead and write point-slope form out. So I've got y minus y1, same as we did last problem, equals m times x minus x1. All right, so now look at that. I've already got y1 and x1 labeled. That's awesome. And we also know that that -5 over 2 is going to be my m. So let's just plug stuff in. So I've got y minus y1, which is -1. And then I've got m, which is -5 over 2. And then I'm going to keep that x. And now I've got an x1, which is -2. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in, -2. All right, cool. So we know that whenever we see these parentheses, we have to distribute some stuff. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and let's change. First off, I'm going to change that. So I changed both those negatives to pluses, and I'm going to just bring this down. I'm going to do y plus 1. We're not changing that side yet. Now, my distributive property here. -5 over 2 times x is just going to give me -5/2 x. Easy. Okay, now, first thing, I'm going to go ahead and change both those into positive so I don't get confused. And now I've got -5 over 2 times 2. Now, I know that the 2 on the bottom of the fraction is going to cancel out with the 2 on the top over here, and that's just going to give me a -5. Now, if multiplying that -5 over 2 times 2 is confusing to you, I would encourage you to go ahead and see Mr. Bostwick or Mrs. Sleeth or Mr. McSparron and see if you can get a little help working on those types of things. All right, now I'm really close to my answer, so all I have to do is get y by itself. I'm going to do that by subtracting 1 from each side. That's going to cancel these ones over here. And I'm just going to look at that. I'm right by my function rule line, so I'm just going to go ahead and write this down here in the answer. Okay, so y is all that's left there. Sorry, I'll put this line here. I didn't change the -5 over 2 times x. And then -5 minus 1 is going to total out to -6. Okay, cool. So I've written out my function rule, and now this is a piece of cake to write the next part because I know that my y-intercept is going to be that part of my function rule, that b that isn't right next to the x. So in the y equals mx plus b, it's the b part. It's not next to the x. And so y-intercept is going to be -6, but again, make sure we write that out as a point. So it's got to be 0, comma, -6. You'll lose points if you don't write the 0 in front of that -6. All right, there's the answer.